ladies and gentle dorks, the properties of glass are pretty clear.
I can see clearly now.
I mean, literally. You see through it.
Are we clear?
Adoy. But there are many other cool things about glass.
Pretty cool.
For example, if you put ice-cold liquid in a glass, it keeps it pretty cold for a little while. It's solid.
Solid as a rock.
You can make pretty things out of it. Like, you know, if you're a glass blower. That sounds...
Tim blows his own glass.
Comes in all sorts of colours. That's nice. It is a somewhat stable material. It also refuses to take on any of the properties of the things that you put in it. So like any of the odours or just stankiness of things. Cool. You can make all sorts of cool things out of it. Like vases, glasses.
I have a glass eye.
Glass eyes. I don't have a glass eye. I mean, these are glass, but the actual eyeball that I have, not glass. You can put booze in it. What's that vodka that comes in a skull? The Danny Aykroyd one?
This is an accurate glass rendering of a human skull.
Doesn't matter.
And no one will show us the bodies from Roswell.
Point is, glass, pretty cool. But for every light side, there is a dark.
I got a dark side.
Glass cuts, sharp. It shatters when you drop it on the floor. Just shards everywhere. Danger, danger. Little sliver. Whee! Evil. Point is, it explodes on impact. Which is why you don't want your brain to be made out of glass. Boom. What an odd thing to say. I mean, you're probably saying that's impossible.
Inconceivable!
Well, to have a glass brain and live, yes, very impossible. But today we're going to talk about a little thing I wrote called 6 Degrees of Ideation, which was inspired by a dude who soon turned out had a brain of glass. Interested? Let's talk. You ever heard of Vesuvius, Pompeii? That old story? Let me bring you up to speed. Though they really should be teaching this stuff in school. In 79 CE in Italy, the old spitting mountain called Vesuvius got all hot under the crust and erupted, boom, to bury the city of Pompeii and the small town of Herculaneum under lava and deadly ash and all sorts of other volcanic baggage. Just like buried it. Goodbye.
I don't even want to look at you anymore.
This was 2,000 years ago, did I mention that? 79 CE? What does CE mean?
Googling.
Anyway, Pompeii. You've probably seen the photos of bodies encased in whatever the hell this is. Ash. Gone all hard. That sounded weird. Anyway, I was reading about these beautiful frescoes that they've been uncovering in Pompeii for quite some time. I'll put some photos somewhere. And in that story, there was a rather titillating link to another story about old Glassbrain. They found the remains of a young man in his bed. The weird thing about it was that his brain turned to glass during the eruption. Well, that's the theory. Vitrification. It's a big word, I learned.
Googling.
And for the sensitive amongst us, let me just assuage your fears and just say that his death would have been instant. This is what a brain usually looks like. You might be familiar with that. And this is what his brain looked like. Brain of glass. Honestly, it's kind of gorgeous. Now, if you're the kind of person that gets all curious about the vagaries of life and why certain things happen, then you're probably asking, why though? How unexpected pretties in the head cave? It's a decent question. I don't know. I mean, I sort of have to. The boffins are kind of having a debate about it, but let's talk about it anyway. Ash, cloud, super hot heat that cools too quickly. The theory is, before the lava ever arrived on the scene, this dude was killed by the initial hot ash cloud. Hot as the proverbial whatever is the hottest thing on earth you can think of. And then rapidly cool, lickety-split, creating perfect vitrification conditions. Something like that. Vitrification being the rapid cooling of a substance to transform it into glass. I think I got that right. To the dictionary. This is a dictionary. I don't know if you've ever seen one before. It's a book. It's got words in it arranged alphabetically and the definitions of the words in it. And they use really small print and you've got to be like a young person to read it, which is weird because young people would not own a dictionary.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Let's look up vitrification. So many words! T-U-V. Here we go. Vitrify, to change into glass or a glass-like substance by fusion due to heat. Vitrification, which is the noun. Doesn't mention the cooling thing, but the more you know. Heft. Great for standing on when you can't reach something from a high shelf. You don't know any tall people. Also, good doorstop. Also, full of words. You know, vitrum is Latin for glass. Hence, vitrification. Yeah, I know things. Not much, but some things. Anyway, saying that his brain vitrified. For this to happen, very rare. Scientists are, having a little back and forth about if that's how it actually happened. If you want to read the argument for, there was a paper published in February 2025 with the rather enticing title of Unique Formation of Organic Glass from a Human Brain in the Vesuvius Eruption of 79 CE. Let me now read to you an excerpt from the abstract. Quote, here we demonstrate that material with glassy appearance found within the skull of a seemingly male human body entombed within the hot pyroclastic flow deposits of the 79 CE Vesuvius eruption formed by a unique process of vitrification of his brain at very high temperature and is the only such occurrence on Earth. On Earth. Wow. Never happened before. That's pretty cool. Now, for the purposes of today's little chatty chat, the idea of super hot, fast cool, that's all you really need to focus on. Because that's what my brain, not made of glass, by the way, glommed onto. Idea. Coming in hot. You want that. The fast-moving pyroclastic cloud of agitated ideation filled with danger and excitement and just power and energy. Hot idea. But what you don't want to happen is for that hot idea to cool too quickly. Because when that happens, your brain turns to glass and the idea shatters. It's explosive. Not like diarrhea. Boom. My hypothesis in the 6 degrees of ideation, which you can read somewhere around here, is that you want to have that hot idea, but you want to cool it down by degrees to actually figure out how you're going to handle it and what it is in order to preserve and think about what it can become without the threat of it slipping through your fingers, dropping to the ground and shattering. You don't want something that's going to break. You want something that can withstand, whether that's criticism or the test of time. I don't know. Point is, you don't want it to turn to glass. You don't want it to become so evidently transparent that it's an idea you can see through. Idea vitrification is murder in the 2nd degree. Like it literally happens after the 1st degree, which is the idea coming in hot. I don't know how many times I've got to say that. Here is my 6 degrees of ideation theory. I'm just making this up. It's what I do. Idea comes in hot. I may have alluded to that before. Idea is handled with care. Idea is introduced to the crucible, which could be considered the inside of his skull, I guess. If not crucible, why crucible shape? Idea is manipulated with tools. These are the tools of your creative craft, whatever your creative strengths are. I myself am a wordsmith, working with hot things, Idea is placed on a cooling rack. Idea becomes a world. Ain't nothing shattering here. Nothing slips from your grip with glassy beadiness and smashes to the ground. Because you've cooled it by degrees to make your magical thing and turn that hot idea into something grand. Now, that's not to say that your brain won't turn to glass. every now and again. It happens. Idea will come in too hot, and for some reason you won't be able to like cool it down in a nice tempered way, and you'll kind of lose it. There'll be shards. It'll be nothing. But here's the great thing about glass. You can recycle it.
I recycle.
So, pick out the bits and melt it down and begin again. It's all good.
Fun fact.
Did you know that at this moment in time there are over 350,000 kinds of glass? And I'm pretty sure that doesn't even include Ira
I'm editing this in my head.
or Philip. See what I did there?